You're listening to the Boat Galley Podcast, tips, reviews, and how-tos for your cruising adventure. I'm Nica Waters, and this is Fit to Sail. This episode of the Boat Galley Podcast is sponsored by Shambhala Sailing Adventures, offering customized learning charters in Exuma's Bahamas. Sailor like you own her with coaching from Captain Suki Cannon. Contact Suki at captainsuki@gmail.com. That's CAPTAINSUKY @gmail. Mention this podcast for 10% off. Slow down, slow down. Life on a boat is all about compromise. It doesn't matter how big the boat is. It is likely to be smaller than whatever abode you lived in on shore. Just about everything you take with you has to serve more than one purpose, from the settees, sometimes dining table seating, sometimes living room couch, sometimes spare bed, to the table, food, projects, bread kneading, to the wine bottles, hold wine, be the rolling pin, turn into candlesticks. Heck, on Calypso, the cheese grater sometimes gets pressed into duty as a small colander when I'm really desperate. One of the hurdles that comes up when people talk about working out on board is the stuff they're used to having in a house or at their gym. The weights, the fancy balance board, the pull-up bars, the classes for heaven's sake. Never fear. You've actually got all that and more at your very compact disposal. And most of it can serve more than one purpose. We can spend a lot of time talking about how great body weight exercises are. Face it though, sometimes it's fun to pull out the stuff when you're getting your sweat on. Let's start with weights. Maybe you don't have any room for that rack of dumbbells on your boat. Do you have room for a set of dial-a-weights, like the Bowflex Selecttech, which is an ingenious contraption that packs weights from 5 to 52 pounds in a 4 square foot of space? Fine. You can substitute resistance bands. These are sections of surgical tubing of varying lengths and weights, often coming with handles or some easy way to keep a hold of them. You can loop them around a handhold, haul them up with a halyard or around the mast, or even just stand on them with your feet and raise your arms up. Want some more resistance? Make the band shorter by choking up on it. Yes, these bands do rot out after a while, and you want to inspect them before each use so they don't snap unexpectedly. Ask me how I know this sometime. But you can carry a surprising array of bands in a very small space. You may already have some to act as spares for a Hawaiian sling or as part of a simple trolling line setup while you're sailing. No bands? How about putting 5 cans of tomatoes in a bag and hefting that up and down for bicep curls? That's the equivalent of a 5-pound weight. A 3-liter box of wine will weigh about 6 pounds or so. Want to do some squats? Grab a gallon of water or vinegar in each hand and you're adding more than 16 pounds of resistance to your squats, because a gallon of water weighs just over 8 pounds. Do you need more than this? Heft 5-gallon jerry jugs, filled ones. Look around and get creative with what you see on board. Dinghy anchors, spare anchors, bits of chain, piles of line, a bag of reference books. The possibilities are endless. Another favorite piece of cool gym gear is the balance board. Your boat, even at anchor or tied to a dock, is really the ultimate balance tester there is. Waves have a funny way of making you feel like you're walking around under the influence, which is an amusing way of thinking about being off balance. But balance on board is important stuff. You might as well work on it. So, how do you do it without a board? Stand up on deck, lift 1 foot off the ground, see how long you last. I suggest being close to a shroud or something to grab onto. If you want to create your own board, grab a piece of wood. The covers for our under-settee storage bins would work perfectly well on Calypso, and a can of something that you put a towel under so that it doesn't mark the floor or the deck or wherever you are, and teeter-totter away. If you want something more fancy, with endless variations on the balance theme, a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball is actually great to have on board to act as a physical therapy ball, and it will act as the fulcrum underneath that board. Side note, rolling tight muscles with a lacrosse ball can be like giving yourself a mini massage. You can put your shoulder against the side of the mast and roll away. You can lie on it on your back and get right into the sore muscles back there. You can lie on it on your glutes. It's unbelievable. That ball is small enough and hard enough to really get in pretty well, and you can control the pressure by just how hard you lean on it. I don't know about you. Doing pull-ups makes me feel totally amazing. There's something about lifting my body weight up off the floor with just my shoulders that makes me feel invincible. And one sure way to be able to do a pull-up is to do pull-ups. On our boat, I can't even lift my arms over my head down below without hitting the cabin top, let alone find a place to hook up a bar with head clearance to do pull-ups. How can I do pull-ups? There's no way to set up a bar in a doorway down below. But outside? What about getting a trapeze bar to haul up in the rigging? What about rat lines, using a high one as a bar? What about using one of those resistance bands? You could loop a heavy one through a halyard, haul that halyard to about spreader height, firmly set your feet, and pull evenly. This is called a lat pull down, and you're using the same muscles as pull-ups. Or, if you like to go swimming, you could actually do your pull-ups when you're in the water for your swim. Grab onto the ladder or the bowsprit, and up and down you go. You want to make it a little bit harder? When you get to the top, when you're more out of the water, hold yourself. Hold yourself to the count of 5 or 10. That will do a great job. Are you starting to see how looking around and asking yourself how you can make something work will open up incredible options for yourself exercise-wise? Classes are the hardest things to tuck away with you on board, unless you're a fitness instructor with access to endless new rounds of some format or another. Sure, there are DVDs and streaming workout options, even apps. I'm particularly partial to my Beachbody on-demand service myself, but if you're a fan of getting your sweat on with a room full of like-minded people, that's hard to duplicate on board. That one, you may just have to wait until you're somewhere you can drop in on a class. Maybe that's a way to structure your cruising grounds. I want to get to places where I can join in a yoga class. Or, if you really love the inspiration and step-by-step guidance and camaraderie, talk your sailing partner into joining you for a workout video on the foredeck. Start looking around your boat and see what you can use. These ideas are only a starting point. Don't let the lack of specialized equipment deter your onboard exercise routine. Thanks for listening. If you like the show, please be sure to subscribe in your podcast app. Just search for the Boat Galley Podcast, and reviews are always appreciated. Until next time, then. Slow down, slow down.